Okay, we're back. We're going to try to finish this up. And Mr. Larry SCHEER and Mrs. Carolyn SCHEER, she was still in school, but Larry was out. So we're just going to cover the 58, 59. And then David Mankey did say he would sit down at some point. I don't know if he can get out of his driveway at this point, the way the snow is. But another year, Gordon Salter, do you remember if he left after this year? Or was he here another year?
No, I had him for 2 years.
So he's left in 61. Or 60.
Either, I think 61. I think
So-
he left the year we graduated.
So once Glenn SCHEER got out, he was like, there's no one coming up. There's going to be a dry spell. Time to move on. Okay. So if you heard, she doesn't want to be on camera, which is fine. But this is Carolyn. She's going to interject some stuff too. But this the varsity team in 58, 59, and this is what they can remember. Arlen Verman, like I said, he and John Kingsbury were the two that were on each of the 4 state championships. Don Eicherman, Charlie Straub, Rolly Herzog, Glenn SCHEER, Bill Kelly, John Vetter, Don Shelton, David Mankey. They were on there and they ended up 30-4. And we're just going to go through the games. And Larry did mention before the break, and we're going to get down to this. But and again, if you don't know how much you heard, these are just listed regular season. Then we went through the tournament, so I know the tournaments are intermingled with them. So we'll start at the beginning. They beat Herman 87-60, Pacific 88-61, Duchesne 72-46, Owensville 61-49, Bourbon 89-55. So most of these are pretty good beatings for the other team. And then at some point, Washington, they lost to Washington 49-52. And you were going to mention that game. Do you remember that here, or did you go down to Washington and watch that? Or?
I don't think so. Because
You were in college.
You were in college then?
Yeah.
Do you remember Carolyn 49-52? That was one of their losses they had. And I think you guys only lost that year. They only lost 2 during the regular season, but we'll continue down. Pacific 80-37. Again, they're just destroying most of these teams in the regular season. Union 64-49. Sullivan was a little closer, 64-51. The other regular season loss was to St. Charles, 57-61. And then I've never heard of this score, Wardell. Did you remember if that was here or was that?
No, that was at Wardell.
Where is Wardell?
That's down
In the boot
close
heel.
to, in the Boot Heel. Yeah.
And how did they get on the schedule?
I have no idea, but I know they went. I did not go. No, they didn't take the pep up.
Okay.
The cheerleaders were the only ones that went.
Okay. So then New Bloomfield 68-48, Washington, Redemption 55-53, St. Clair 65-33, Union 51-35, St. Clair 79-55, Sullivan 81-74. Now this is something I was going to ask both of you, and I'm going to ask David too. I've never seen it of all the ones I've looked at for the yearbooks. It was called the New Haven Basket Bowl.
Right.
And they played.
Where do you see that?
I saw it in your yearbook.
Really?
Right.
And I believe what happened, and I'll be able to verify with David, is it's kind of like a scrimmage in football. You played 1 quarter against each team. So they played Sullivan and won 12-4, St. Clair 14-7, Bragg City 26-24, and Union 30-16.
Bragg City. Really?
So-
I don't remember
Yeah.
that.
So that was, I suppose, in New Haven, and they just played 1 quarter. But the school counted it as a win. So I guess whoever won the most quarters was a win.
I hadn't heard that.
So then at the Borgia tournament, quick exit, I don't know if you remember, they played Bell 69-43, and then you guys lost to DeBerg 73-77. And I guess they didn't have a consolation or anything back then.
It was just red and gold.
And if you lost, you were done.
Blue and gold.
Yeah, and if you lost, you were done.
Yeah.
So, while you guys are standing here, because I'm going to have some people that will be interested in this too. When you see Nathan, I would like to talk to him, because Larry, I think we're correct. One of his years they were undefeated, I believe. They were 33-0 or something like that.
I think
See if possibly he'd be interested in sitting down and talking about that year.
you can see that on YouTube.
The game.
The hip, yeah.
I remember watching it because it was on something. Maybe it was on Fox or something.
Well, it was the year they won state.
Yeah.
And I just looked at that the other night.
I remember
it's
him.
on YouTube.
Yeah, playing it, but without going back, and you guys obviously had a connection there, find out who was on there. But I would like to talk to him about that. So if you could give him a heads up, if he would want to do that. I find that a lot of guys want to talk about it, but when I ask the girls, like, no, because I asked Shelby Winkleman to sit down and talk, and Allison how they chose to go play basketball or volleyball. They said, no, we don't, but it's fine. No vote. So then you guys played the St. Clair tournament, which it used to be called, he said, the Franklin County, but they changed it to St. Clair the last.
Yeah.
Festa 74-58. Did you go to these tournament games as a pep club, or is
As
this?
in the pep squad, yeah. Pep
Sullivan,
squad, like I said,
yes.
we rode the back of the bus.
Sullivan 60-41, and then the old Washington Blue Jays again. They lost 45-55, so it was 1 win, 2 losses that year when they lost 4 games. So 2 of them were to Washington. And then you guys went up to Fulton and played in the tournament. You played University High and won 53-34, Mexico 59-53, and Hannibal 66-49. So they won that tournament. And then I said this to Dwayne and like the girls. Very fortunate that regionals were fairly close to New Haven, where you could have fans go there and not have to go very far. So regionals at St. George again.
Yeah.
And they played Avaz 69-53, Bourbon 68-52, Lincoln 65-57, and then Ellsbury, which is a new one, 58-50. So then you guys went to Sub-State, but it didn't say where that was. You remember when that year were? Sub-State used to be a Bourbon.
What year is this?
59.
I think that's the year we went to Cape Girardeau
So
in the snow.
all the way down to Cape.
I think so.
Phew, that's
And it was snowing so bad, and Mr. Riggy,
Russell?
Russell Riggy drove, and there was 4 of us girls in that car. He took us down, and you had to have a driver. You know, of course, the parents had approved and everything. And when we got down there, we stayed with Tom Pratt's sister. We stayed at her house and went to the game.
Was it? I'm surprised they even allowed you to go. Did you guys go as a pep?
Well,
We call it pep club. What did you call it earlier?
pep
Pep
squad.
squad. Was that part of it, or is this like, hey, we're gonna get some girls and we're gonna ride down with the
it had
ladies?
to be approved by the school. You had to prove who you were going to stay
Okay.
with and so forth. Yeah.
Okay. So you
Yeah.
guys played Bunston first in 88-61, and then I don't have a lot on here on this game, but Kingsbury had 33, and Herzog and Glen Shear had 16 apiece. So then you guys play Winona, and you guys won 45-40, and Winona was up 10-8 after the first, and then they were tied, and then New Haven was up 29-24 at the end of the third, and then Kingsbury had 18 points. So I always say, like Dwayne, doesn't get old. Fourth year in a row. Second year going to Columbia. The other one was at Lake of the Ozarks and Springfield.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys go back to Columbia, and I don't know if you were done with college by then, or not, where you could have watched these.
I think I probably watched those, yeah.
So you played Mooresville, and you guys won. New Haven won 63-54, and I don't know if you remember, they were unbeaten at the time. Mooresville was.
Oh, no, I didn't.
So New Haven was up 22-10 after the first, 33-20 at the halftime, 51-29. So either they didn't play much or New Haven was really playing well. 51-29 for the third, and Kingsbury had 26 and Glen Shear had 17. And then how things have changed, because Nixa, I think, is a 6A school now, at least a 5A. Played Nixa in the state championship game, and he won 57-41. Nixa was up 9-3 after the first. That was relatively low scoring. They must have been bottling New Haven up. But the Nixa was up 24-23 at halftime, and then New Haven led 43-22 after the third, and Kingsbury had 23. So like Ken Quest, he also scored 100 points in the 4 tournament games. And he had, so 100 points. Kingsbury was all-state, and then Kingsbury and Arlen Verman were on the all-state championship team. Remember when I said they had a state championship team, and they also had all-state?
Okay.
And then through 4 years, New Haven had a record of 130-9, which is unreal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And really, if it wouldn't have been for this, if it would have been like 1 or 2, I mean, you guys had 4 losses that year. So you take those off, it would have been like 5 losses or 6 losses. So obviously he was gone in college. I can only imagine, and I'm maybe sound corny here, the high that went on in New Haven. For those years, that many years in a row, it had to be like,
Oh, wow.
I don't know, did it ever come down, or was there so much anticipation for the following year to start after it was over with?
I don't know, but you know, for years, we had the sign out by city limits, a basketball town.
Yeah.
Basketball capital.
Yeah, capital, yeah. but
I
Where
think-
was it at? Was it on the west
It
side,
was
south?
out by Bale Park.
Okay.
I would think after the 4th year, maybe things kind of cooled down a little
Cooled
bit,
down
you
a little
know.
bit.
But is it
I
become,
don't know for sure.
well, after the fourth year, obviously you lost a very integral part of the team, John
Yeah,
Kingsbury.
Right, yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, and I saw it before, but where did he end up playing?
That Missouri Valley.
Missouri.
So basically, it was kind of like the pipeline from New Haven to Missouri Valley for. Is that where Quest played also?
No, he went to Westminster.
Okay.
He and
With Bernard and Larry?
Well, Larry Dietrich went
Yeah.
to Westminster, and so did Bill Wilson for a while at least.
I remember Larry Dietrich he worked for the paper when Kyle was a senior. That's when he passed away that year.
Okay.
I believe it was that year.
Well, you know, it was that time we had that game out here. We played a game of some sort, and Larry played in it.
And is that when it kind of went downhill after that? Or
Well, actually, that night he stumbled or something and fell and kind of hit his head. And I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but that night he did pass away.
Well, I remember
I don't
him
know
because
just
he.
what the deal was, what the game was all about, but is that the one you were talking about earlier?
Well, I remember him being reported for the paper, and he followed us because most of the stuff that I am going to cover on the '89 Running Rocks team, which we're going to sit down Sunday and talk about. Kyle can't be there, so I'm going to sit down with Tim and Derek. And he wrote a lot, and I remember seeing him. And obviously, I didn't know the history of the '50s teams. I know, yeah, you guys won state, but I didn't know how good a player he was. But looking back, and then I would see him, I was like, by his health, the way he was, because I know he
his
liked
health
it. Didn't
was
he?
bad.
He liked to smoke a lot,
Oh.
didn't he?
Yeah.
I think I remember him kind of smell it, but and I'm not talking bad about him because I always liked Larry, but I was like, he was as
smoked-
good.
He
he was
smoked
as-
a lot. Oh,
He was
yeah.
as good as what. Now
Oh,
reading
yeah.
into this now, I was like, he was a hell of a
He
player
was,
back
he was
in
an
the day.
intelligent guy.
Was
really.
Norman? Was he? Do you remember? Obviously, you lived, but he played also. But
Well, when he was in high school, he did.
Okay.
But he was older. Because I don't know just how, he had to be at least 6 years older than
yeah, he was older. I remember seeing him in some older yearbooks, but just. But I remember when he passed away, we actually put one black shoelace in her basketball shoes
Oh, really?
to kind of. And maybe it was when I was a senior when he passed away. It could have been. If it was like an alumni game, it had to be.
Yeah, it
It
was
had to be
something
the
like
beginning
that.
of my senior year.
Something like that.
Yeah, so kind of going over some players because this one's going to be shorter because I know you guys.
I mean, that would have been 90 then.
1990, yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, so you had Quest went to Westminster, Larry, Dietrich, Bernard Horskamp.
Well, Bernard, I don't know that he didn't go to Westminster. Bill Wilson did.
Well, they said in the book somewhere that he played a little while
Oh,
somewhere.
maybe he did. He might have.
So did Kugel? Did he go anywhere?
Yeah, he went to Hannibal LaGrange.
Okay, what about Ploger? Did he go anywhere?
So
Yeah, he went to Missouri Valley.
Missouri Valley.
Okay.
He went to Missouri Valley to study for engineering, and they had what they called a 3-2 program. He went 3 years at Missouri Valley and then 2 years at Rolla,
Okay.
and he graduated from Rolla.
Did he play at Rolla then too, or do you remember?
I
if
don't
he...
remember that.
So I'm going through, and you say Kugel went to where again?
Hannibal LaGrange.
Okay, so then you went to Missouri Valley. Where did Glenn Shear end up going to? Do you remember?
He went to Drake.
That big?
Yeah.
Was he successful down there? Or?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, because I mean that's quite a bit of step
Yeah,
up from.
right. Yeah.
So
and then I don't
Skip.
know where he went after, if he finished there or just what. But Marty then went down to a school in Arkansas.
Arkansas.
What I can't think of the name of it right now. Met his wife down there and eventually married her.
Yeah.
And then ended up at where was it? Marshall.
Marshall.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was actually principal.
Yeah. I mean we still on the.
We're still going. Yeah, we're just talking about the guys that went to play because I'm trying to cover all of them.
Marty's kind of a guy I'm really proud of. He wasn't the best student in high school, but he ended up, like she said, as a principal.
He's a principal.
Went through college and
Yeah.
coached. He coached he coached at Marshall. It seemed to me like maybe one time he coached north of Columbia, or maybe that was Glenn coached somewhere north of Columbia, Higbee or somewhere up there.
Could be. I know Glenn ended up going to New Haven, then to Herman at some point.
He was at Owensville too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's kind of moved around,
But he came, were you on the,
yeah, I
was
was
it the
there.
89 when he came
Yeah,
in
he
your
came in the locker
room?
room, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that was at South Callaway
Yeah.
tournament.
What's that?
Glenn came in the locker room and talked
it was
to
kind
the
of a pep
boys.
talk before the championship game.
And here he was principal
Yeah.
of the school,
Yeah,
of
so
South Callaway.
you still played
Getting
green.
back
It's
to
just-
Kingsbury, he went to Missouri Valley, and actually he's the one that talked me into going up there because he was going up there. I actually, after I graduated from high school, that first semester, I went to a trade school in Columbia for printing,
yeah,
and then that next summer I worked at Leader Publishing till sometime that next summer when Kingsbury talked me into going up to Missouri Valley too, and I didn't. Yeah, I played basketball a lot, but I was smoking then, and I didn't play a whole lot.
Did you do anything?
Drinking
Obviously,
beer, what have you.
yeah, obviously you ended up at the Leader for
But
how
then
many years?
he was actually, they went to the NAI tournament in Kansas City. I guess he would have been, I guess that was his sophomore year, I guess. And he actually made Little All-American.
Really?
Yeah.
So he was.
But for some reason, I don't know why he decided to go down to
Go to
Springfield.
Springfield, and he talked to him into going with him.
Yeah, he talked me into going.
So he
down
only
there.
played there 1 year?
At Missouri Valley.
Yeah. Or 2 years?
I
Or
think 2 years.
2 years.
Okay.
2 years, I think.
Yeah.
But then he went to Springfield, but the coach's
Coach's son got to play
coach's
more
son
than
was the
John.
point guard at Springfield, so he didn't really get to play a whole lot. He kind of got ripped there a little bit, I think. And,
So we're gonna end this up here.
yeah, okay, yeah. I'm
No,
wrapping
hold
up
on,
now.
hold on. One last thing. I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna put you on the spot
Oh,
because I asked you before, and I told you my thought of those 4 years of the players that you saw, and you. Who was the best player during that era? Are you gonna say Kingsbury? Or are you gonna say Skip Wolf?
yeah, that's a tough one.
I mean, obviously at different positions, but I wonder, honestly, if Quest would have been 1 or 2 years younger and played, because he was only there for the first year,
Yeah,
right?
he was. And he had a pretty good career at Westminster.
What I'm saying is the way you described how he played
Yeah,
and how many points he scored, and I don't know what he played prior to. Obviously, Kingsbury scored a lot because it was freshman through senior. Just on what and I'm not downplaying anyone, the other ones, but it just seemed like Quest, how he was scoring, with not having quite the supporting cast that Skip and John had through those years.
yeah, I don't know.
You said Skip was determined. Who had the most raw talent? You think John?
Probably, no, raw talent. No, I don't. I would say probably Quest then.
Okay.
Because he was a good baseball player. He's a good baseball pitcher. In fact, this is a little story. When he was, I guess he would have been a senior. For whatever reason, they decided to have a race. I remember we went out to the American Legion grounds, I think, and decide who was the fastest. Because there was Charlie McKernan. You ever heard of him?
Oh, great Uncle Charlie, yes.
Yeah. He was kind of a short guy, but he seemed really fast, you know. He moved his legs fast, so they were going to have a race between Charlie McKernan, Skip Wolf, and Ken Quest.
Oh my gosh.
And everybody was betting, not betting actually, but figuring Skip Wolf was going to win, but Ken Quest won.
Okay, so we're going to end it up. I want to say this. I truly do appreciate you allowing me to come into your home and sit down with you. I promise at some point when it gets warmer and we just need to go in the gym and do a walkthrough, at least around the side that's fairly decent shape, and we're gonna go in that closet and we're gonna try to see if your name's in there too, maybe.
Okay.
But anyway, I appreciate you coming in
That's
at
fine.
the tail end here, and I know I took up quite a bit of your time.
Hey,
But as Kyle says, and I haven't talked to Sarah or Mike, your grandkids, a lot of them have never heard this story. And like I told you before, I have an old coworker that said I would rather listen to stuff you ask people than any podcast. So I do appreciate it. I know you were a little apprehensive, but It wasn't. Tell me, was it as bad as you thought it was going
No,
to
it was actually enjoyable.
be? Okay.
I think.
I just didn't. I still don't think it's all that important. I guess
It is very
It's
important.
old history.
But you know what? People like hearing this because they did a phenomenal job. Keith and John did, but very few have actually heard this story. And how many of you guys are actually left? Not many.
Not too many.
So I appreciate it. So I'll see you at the gym. I hope you enjoy your bourbon. I guess it's bourbon I bought you.
Yep, yeah, it
It's
is.
probably a little stronger than you actually want, but
No,
so don't put too much in your glass. But.
probably enjoy another one tonight.
All right. Thank you.